like they're having some kind of reunion for a school. He's like, I'll be home tomorrow by noon.
She just walked out of the room.
Early.
This is like herding cats.
I'll go really slow.
Okay, thank you.
Gershenson.
Here.
Oh, we do have 5.
Jackson. She's gonna be right back. McGilvray is absent with notice. Nelson.
Here.
Joliet.
Here.
Lubes.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, our first item is approving the agenda. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Joliet. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. We move to our first public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment on items on the agenda?
Yes.
Oh, then you would come to the head of the table and state your name and community, and you will have 3 minutes.
One of these 3 seats?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Rick Cruz. I am a business agent for the IBEW. We're also members of the AFL-CIO and the building trades. I represent the hard-working men and women of Oakland County, and specifically I'm here for the shelter attendants. We represent members there that are working hard every day to try to keep the place spick and span and clean for the county to come in. We have residents that come in during hours, I think operational hours start at 10 o'clock. And our shelter attendants get there early to try to keep the place clean, and they have seen an increase in the amount of dogs and animals that are at the shelter. It's not unique to just Oakland County. It looks like it's a national trend across the country that the amount of animals, both that are abandoned and that I think some of our residents are just had enough of the dogs and cats, and they're turning them back in. They're surrendering their pets. So we've seen an increase. I think the shelter was designed for 150 at a max, I believe, for dogs, and I think we're well over that, about 183, the last top number. So we're here in support of the administration. We have, I think you'll see from the administration, a very comprehensive and thoughtful plan to address what we believe is undue stress on the working men and women there, that they need some relief, they need some extra help. So we are here to support the administration and their proposal that you'll hear, I'm sure, shortly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to items on the agenda? All right, our first public comment is closed. We move on to our agenda item. The first is a Health and Human Service recommendation, amendment number 6 to the 2008-7216 Eagle PCR methods for Oakland County beaches agreement. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Joliet. And do we have Leanne here? Oh, here, Leanne's here by video. Welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Very excited about this. We actually received an amendment from Eagle to expand our testing. And people are probably saying, well, we generally end at the end of September, which is usually when beach season ends, when people are swimming. But they've extended it till October, again, trying to get different types of data. Oakland County is really the #1 agency that does most of the testing for Eagle to really look at this QPR testing and culture, which is a little bit different than just taking a water sample and looking for E. coli. It actually allows us to identify the type of E. coli it could be. Could it be human? Is it animal waste? And so we're really hoping we've been working with EPA and the state on this for actually 7 years now. They have to get enough data to be able to change the law so that we can use QPR testing as the standard way of doing beach sampling versus the current way, which takes sometimes 2 days for us to get the results back. And this would be same day return. So what it does provide for us right now, the qPCR, is it does provide a quick turnaround, and we can do an advisory. So hopefully you all have been receiving those beach notices that we have been sending. So you'll see some beaches are advisories, right? We're waiting for a follow-up, but at least we're posting something to say, hey, there could be a problem here, you know, watch swimming. And then once we get the final results or the preferred or allowed results, then we actually go and present the closing or we pull the advisory. So this is an extension, 60,000. We're going to do through December 31st. So.
Is the grant through October or through December?
Actually, we brought the initial, I think I brought it last month or the month before, was the original grant. This is an addendum of $60,000 to allow us to extend till December.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Gershenson, followed by Commissioner Joliet.
Sounds like a good plan, and I want to thank you for sending us the updates on the beaches. Many of us sit on lake boards, and it's very helpful to get that information.
Good, we will keep those coming, and they come usually on a daily basis, so.
Commissioner Joliet.
Thank you. Is there a list of the beaches that are tested? Is it on the site?
Yes, actually, I can send that to, I'll send it to Patty if you want me to, and then that way you all can have access. We have a county site and there's also a state site, so you can look across the state if you're interested, if you're going up north. So I'll make sure that you all have both of those links so you can see all the beaches that are tested this year.
Okay, and as Commissioner Gershenson stated, we sit on a number of lake boards, and there's some smaller lakes that I sit on that I probably are not included. How do they get on that list?
So they can connect with our environmental health team. There's a 5-year rotation is what we do for beaches that have not been problematic, I guess, right? So we really look at if it's been problematic the year before, we usually keep them on the list the next year. But then all of our beaches are on a 5-year rotation. So just because of staffing, right, and being able to get the samples done. And so if they're not on that 5-year rotation, we could get them on that rotation and start, you know, putting them through that same process.
Perfect, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, prompt the vote, please.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Leanne.
I gotta let my hair.
Our next item is Public Service Recommendation, appropriation of American Rescue Plan Act, local fiscal recovery funds for staffing modifications, positions creation. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Gershenson. And we have here Bob Kett to talk about this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. We are here today to seek your support, your approval to create some new positions within the animal shelter. If you recall, on April 1st of this year, the animal shelter assumed the cage cleaning responsibilities from the Sabre Building Services with the creation of 10 new positions that you approved. The number of animals housed at our shelter has continued to rise since the easing of COVID, with the average number of dogs at 167 and the average number of cats at 129 per month since January of 23. Now, our shelter is only built to house 150 dogs and 140 cats. So when we go over that number, sometimes we double up the dogs in cages if possible, or we set up portable cages in the hallways. But we are committed to, taking care of all the animals that come to us and not euthanizing any animal that doesn't meet the criteria that it should be euthanized. The 10 positions that were created has proven to be inadequate. Keeping in mind that prior to Sabre coming in, we used to have 12 Oakland County prisoners come in 7 days a week. And they worked the whole day to clean the same amount of cages that we're cleaning now. So when we had the 10 positions that were created in April, keeping in mind that they get 2 days off just like all the Oakland County employees, And they're also entitled to their collective bargaining agreement days off as far as funeral leave days or vacation days. We never have more than 7 people in the shelter cleaning at one time out of those 10. Never more than 7, and oftentimes less than that. The positions that we're asking for today, an additional 10 positions, will ensure the health and the well-being of both the staff that are working now and the health of the animals. The cost of the positions are going to be $706,024 for the fiscal year '24. And the rescue plan, the American Rescue Plan would fund that for fiscal year '24. And after that, it would go to the general fund. Out of the 10 positions that we're asking for now, 6 of them will be dedicated to cleaning. 4 of them will be dedicated to the front desk in our endeavor to adopt more animals. Since COVID, we've only opened Monday through Friday. We're open to the public from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're closed on the weekends. If you approve this today, we'll have 4 additional people at the front desk that we will work different hours. They're going to be open late 2 nights a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. They'll serve the public till 7:30 at night. And then we're gonna be open on Saturdays to serve the public on Saturday. So we believe that with the additional 6 cleaners that will be added to the 10 that we already have, we will never have less than 11 people working, and we believe that would be adequate to satisfy the needs of the shelter.
Thank you. Commissioner Gershenson?
Thank you, Bob. Just to refresh everyone's memory, a few years ago, I sponsored a resolution to bring in an unaffiliated expert to do an assessment of the shelter to
Dr.
see
Pisano.
Dr. Sarah Pisano, who just did a great job. And my goal is to review that assessment and see where you are. And I've heard from you and Barb that you're almost done with that. And one of the biggest recommendations she made was more staff. I believe she recommended 17.
16 or 17, in addition to what we had at the time.
Right,
At the time, we had Sabre cleaning.
right.
And Sabre had 10 people every day cleaning. She suggested that we add 6 more people just to the cleaning staff.
Right.
Then she also suggested that we add to the front desk staff adoption counselors and other members of the front desk staff that would help with the public's need. If we can get this through today, the 4 people that we will add to the front desk staff will go a long way toward satisfying Dr. Pisano's recommendations.
So indeed, Bob, will they be doing the kind of counseling she recommended that we do when people call?
100%, Commissioner,
Okay.
100%. We've already talked to the staff in prelude to this. If it goes through, we're gonna come up with, I'm gonna call Dr. Pisano, frankly, and I'm gonna get her recommendations as to what sort of training should be needed. But our front desk staff now, I call anybody an expert, but this is what they do for a living, and they are experts. We have 2 members of the DOG rescue group that are full-time members of our staff now, and they work 7 days a week, frankly. You know, if they're not working for the county, they're working for DOG. They probably forgot more about dog rescues and dog activities than most of us would ever know.
And I actually have sat at the front desk with your front desk staff, so I know what kind of work they do. In the future, I'd like to talk about the volunteers you use, the volunteer agencies that want to be involved, and also the sustainability of these positions. So it is my understanding that you're considering raising the dog license fee.
Well, this is something that we've discussed.
Considering,
Considering, it would be obviously
Considering all options.
right?
a commissioner decision.
And then when you get around to another idea that I heard, which is the licensing of cats, I would like to be involved in that study, because I'm sure we're gonna have to pull on a lot of communities that are already doing something like that to see if that's something that Oakland County would support. But I appreciate, I've always wanted our animal shelter to be a state-of-the-art shelter and to stand out in the Tri-County area, if not the state. So I appreciate your efforts here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cavell?
I have a couple questions about the money. So, we just approved, a short while ago, you mentioned, it was 10 dog shelters?
In April, 10, yes.
So if memory serves, that was for $519,000. For 1 year.
I don't know the exact figure.
Or something like
Yeah,
that.
around that, cause that was the Sabre contract.
So why is this 9 people doing that 589, let alone then the total ending up being 706?
I think it was a little higher than 500 at the time, but since then, the contract has been resolved, and I know there was an increase in salary to the employees that we'd hire now. I don't have the exact figures in front of me what it was, but I thought it was a little bit more than what we were paying Sabre. And we were paying Sabre 500 something.
Yeah, it was 619,000, so it was only 659,000. It was only from general budget 159 because $500,000 was from Sabre.
From the Sabre
So
contract.
we only incurred $159,000 from general budget. Now everything goes from ARPA.
Gotcha. So then, what pot of ARPA are you drawing from? We're about to
Commissioner,
deliberate
you know-
about what we do with our second tranche, so.
I just wanted, Barb and I just want to present the need that we have. The money we would leave to the commissioners to determine how it would come to be. But we are here to present a drastic need for additional staffing. You know, I heard Mr. Prish say that we do our best to keep it clean. Keep in mind that it's the law too. I mean, by law, we have to clean that shelter. We have 10 animal control officers, one of them which are here, that go out through the community and we arrest people who don't take care of their animals. We can't be in that position where we don't have enough people to clean the shelter and we'd be violating the law. So I will leave the money up to the commission, but we want to present the need that is present.
Are they coming before finance, Gwen?
Yes.
Next week, yes.
Okay, cause that's why I asked you about the
That's my
money.
understanding,
You
is
know
it'll
the
be
money
before
then?
finance on the
Next
9th.
week?
Right.
I haven't seen a schedule, but
The 9th.
But they're asking for money, I'm asking questions about the money, that's the finance and the board of commissioners role. So deflecting and saying, you're just telling us the story, part of the story is the money, which is why it's in this packet that you sent us with the money. It's okay that you don't have the answer, but I'd like the answers at finance committee. That's
We've
all.
been informed it's coming from the lost revenue, from the pile of money that was assigned to the
That's
administration.
what I'm looking for,
Yeah,
those
that's-
sorts of
okay, yeah,
answers.
sorry.
Thank you, we'll
Which
talk
you'll
more
get in
finance next week.
finance.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Barb.
Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you please refresh us as far as like how things transitioned from the trustees service again? It happened at the onset of COVID and how come it hasn't reestablished itself in that way?
sure, from what I know. For as long as the shelter was open, and I don't know how many years that is, probably, 50 years, 12 trustees, actually it was 13 trustees from the shelter would come from the jail would come to the shelter 7 days a week. And they would clean the shelter, they would water and feed the dogs, do the dishes, do the laundry. They would move the dogs. They became so engrossed and ingrained in their jobs that many of them, when they got out of jail, came back to us, not that they wanted to work for us or they wanted to adopt certain animals. So it was working very, very well, and it wasn't costing the county any money. When COVID hit, I don't know what day it was in the middle of the week, about 2:30 in the afternoon, I got a phone call from the sheriff saying, Bob, we're pulling the prisoners out and they're not coming back. Whoa, that left us in a lurch. For a few days, we closed the building, all the staff pitched in and cleaned and did what we had to do. But we knew we couldn't sustain that. So working with administration, Sabre Company was hired. Now, Sabre Company cleans the county and they do a great job. They had never cleaned an animal shelter before. But they wanted to do what they could do, and it worked in the beginning when COVID hit. Dogs and cats were flying out of the shelter left and right. In the beginning of COVID, we had 50 dogs and 25 cats in the building. So when Sabre showed up with 10 workers, they thought, oh, this is going to be simple. This is going to be easy. And indeed it was for a period of time. But then as COVID went forward, people started returning their animals for whatever reason that they had. And the shelter began to really fill up. And as I said, in January of '23, the numbers started hitting about 300 a day. And that's more than our shelter is really even capable of handling, much less our vet staff and the front desk staff and everything that goes with taking care of 300 animals. So that's how it happened. The prisoners were there, and then one day they left, and they're not coming back. Now, I'm not in that field anymore. I'm sure Barb can be much more of an expert, but I'm told that because of COVID, the courts have changed the way they sentence people. Whereas they would sentence low-level misdemeanors to jail, and they would be the trustees that would come to the shelter. Nowadays, the people in the jail are no longer trustee-type prisoners. And
let me clarify. So there was changes to the law too. There was criminal justice reform, and so several misdemeanors are no longer eligible for a jail sentence. The individuals that are coming to jail now are much more serious, that are being detained and are sentenced to the jail. I've talked with the undersheriff on several occasions about this, and even asked if they would consider changing the eligibility criteria for the trustees, which they've already done, and they still can't fill trustee spots to do the things they need to have done at the jail. The trustees often did the laundry and kitchen service, and they don't even have enough trustees to fill that. And he said, if we ever got back to a time when we had additional trustees, we would be happy to send them. But we've been waiting for 3 years, and it hasn't happened, and so we need to do something.
Thank you. That clarifies a lot in my mind.
Commissioner Joliet?
Thank you. So I obviously see the need, and I know with the COVID, everybody was getting a dog and a cat, now everybody's back to work, and what do we do with all of them? So just as your numbers have fluctuated with the animals, your employment, I see obviously increasing. Do you foresee if the numbers fluctuate back, that they kind of normal out to what it was pre-COVID, that you would still need all of these employees?
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't see any trend of it diminishing, but I'll go back to say that for as long as the shelter was open, we had 12 or 13 prisoners cleaning the shelter. That's the number we need. I can do the math for you. It takes about 15 minutes to clean a cage. And if you take 15 minutes times 300, this morning we had 280 animals in the building, you can see how many minutes it takes, and divide that by the number of people working, you can see that our minutes that we are required don't meet the minutes that we have with the people. So I think we're gonna need 11 or 12 people to clean that shelter regardless of anything. I don't believe we'll ever see a time when we're down to 50 dogs again.
Okay, so with this new contract, you'll have 13 people cleaning them?
If this went through today, we would have about 11 or 12 people minimum cleaning every day.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. I do see the need for additional personnel at the animal shelter, and your reasons are very valid. My comment is not specifically to the animals. It is to the finances, which is something you're not involved in. In our school mental health ad hoc committee, we had additional ARPA money that we designated to youth assistance staff and juvenile probation officers. We were advised we could not use the ARPA money for personnel. I thought it would be considered like a grant for 2 years, and then after that, the agencies would be self-sufficient or hire people for specifically 2 years at a time. So I really want to put that on record that I am in favor of this. I will be voting yes. On the other hand, for our youth assistance staff and juvenile probation staff, that we weren't able to move forward with that because we used ARPA money. Commissioner Joliet?
I will just support that, in that, yeah, we were advised that not to use ARPA funding for permanent positions. So that was pulled from our committee.
Commissioner Cavell?
Thanks. What you said, Chair, resonates with me too, because not just the money side, but I think from what Barb and Commissioner Jackson were talking about, aren't we, and maybe this is more for you, Barb, aren't we going to be seeing a lot more of these types of things over the next couple of years with criminal justice reforms that then make it so that we're not paying inmates 20 cents an hour to do work that is worthy of $38,000 a year plus benefits? Because that's what we'd be paying these folks to clean the shelter, the animal shelter. And what we've been doing is kind of living off of other people's work and giving them a pittance for it in an unfair and unjust way, but now we're just righting that ship. That's part of what this is, and we'll see more of that, like from laundry and kitchen, all these other things.
I can't really speak to those other things, but yes, I think for a long time, the county, we got away with using the trustees and we didn't pay them anything. They got time off of their sentence for being a trustee. And now that's no longer the case. And so here we are.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, it is time to prompt the vote.
Jackson? Oh, sorry. I didn't save it. 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is a public service agreement with Children's Village and Waterford School District interlocal agreement. Who would like to make a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson and support from Commissioner Powell. And we have Heather and Barbara here to talk about this.
Good afternoon, thank you for having me. As you said, I'm here to present the interlocal agreement between Oakland County and the Waterford School District. So we have had a long-standing history with Waterford Schools. They have provided educational instruction for the kids in all areas of our campus for many, many years. That does a number of things. It keeps us compliant with our licensing standards. It meets requirements of MDE. But I think most importantly, it provides them with a quality education. So the current agreement has expired, and so I'm here today to ask you for a new agreement that will take us through the next 5 years. The budget for the 2023 school year includes an increase in state aid of $458 per student. So that takes us to $9,608 per student. The projected cost to the county is $182,222. It's important to note, though, that that amount is 50% reimbursable by the Child Care Fund. So we're actually only paying half of that. For the 2024-2025 school year, the projected cost is $217,119. Also reimbursable 50% by the Child Care Fund. So again, I'm here today to ask you to approve another 5-year agreement.
And I absolutely agree. Our children who are in Children's Village need an education, and it's a long-standing contract with Waterford, and staff, teaching staff they send over have the right personality and character to work with that population. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Cabell?
Okay, is this the 9608, that's the new
Yes,
per pupil minimum?
it is. It was $458 last year, which was $9,150. So we appreciate that increase.
Is, I don't know this because I don't live in Waterford, but are there other mills or other things that people tack on to pay for Waterford schools that Children's Village may or may not take advantage of?
So if I understand the question correctly, the amount is projected because at the end of the school year, they take a look at student counts. They confirm the student counts, and then they take a look at all of the funding that they received. That could include Title I funds, it could include special education funding, and they tally up all the numbers and we get the reconciliation at the end that will tell us exactly how much we owe. Did that answer your question?
So this is sort of a projected
Yes.
budget because
Sure.
we don't know. And
Right.
it's projected at 52 students. Of course, prior to COVID, we had a lot more than that. And since COVID, we have less and we hope to, really it's our goal to have less and less. But we won't really know the actual cost until we get those actual, numbers.
Maybe this also is for finance then, but I'm saying like, for example, if you live in Ferndale, you pay certain taxes to make sure that your school district gets more money, right? Because the school district of Ferndale chose to raise mills to do that. If they did that in Waterford, are the kids at Children's Village getting that extra money in their per pupil allocation, or is it just the state minimum?
Well, it's a combination of things. So if Waterford, raise their taxes for that, it not necessarily would go to Children's Village kids. So there's special fund, we get the per pupil amount. There's also a special fund Title
Title I D.
Part D, which is particularly for kids that are in institutions, and so we get a chunk of money there. There are other monies like for special ed, projected number of special ed kids that we might have at the village that they draw down. And there is some other money, but that's really a Waterford School Board decision where that money gets placed. And if they choose not to allocate any of it to Children's Village, then it would stay with just the Waterford School District proper.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, prompt the vote, please. You have 7 yeas, 0 nays. Motion
Thank you.
carries, thank you. Last piece of our meeting is public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment? All right, public comment is closed and there is no other business to come before our meeting at this time, so we will adjourn at 5:10. Thank you.